Hi everyone, I'm Kevin Hanegan, and welcome back to Know Your Data, the series where we aim to make everyday data work for you. And remember, if you have any questions for us as you watch this video, please leave them in the comment section below. Today's topic is all about cookies. No, unfortunately, it's not the kind you eat, but it's the kind that show up on websites. Do you know the implications when you accept cookies on your favorite website? Are you potentially concerned about what data you're giving away and what happens to it? Well, today we're pleased to be joined by Daniel Rowles, CEO of Target Internet, course director from the Chartered Institute of Marketing, the industry body for marketing, and he's also program director at Imperial College. And he's going to help us understand what's going on behind the browser. Daniel, welcome to the show.
Thanks very much for having me.
So let's start off with the basics. I think most people understand cookies. They see the pop-up message and they see accept or decline. I don't really think they understand what's going on behind the scenes. Can you explain to us what cookies are?
So cookies are just bits of text that are being stored on your computer within a folder on your computer via your browser, and they're there to basically track your behavior. That might be within a particular session on an internet browser, just going through and using a website. It might be across multiple visits to a website. What they're really there for is to solve a problem. And actually, the internet was designed to be stateless. So what that means is, actually, when you go to one page and you go to the next web page, it doesn't know what you did on that previous web page. So things like logging in and e-commerce just won't work at all.
A lot of times when I hear people talk about cookies, it usually has a negative connotation. Should consumers be worried about cookies?
They're not fundamentally a bad thing. I mean, the reality is without them, the internet doesn't function. So we kind of have to have them at a certain level, but it depends on the type of cookie that you're accepting. So very often we talk about essential cookies. Those are the things that are just there to make the website function. So when you put something in your basket, it remembers that it's in your basket on an e-commerce website. Where a lot of the controversy is with third-party cookies, and that's when I go to a website and maybe I'm on a news website, there's loads of different advertisers there, and they're all setting cookies on my machine. And then they can track me across multiple third-party websites. And that's where people are probably a bit more uncomfortable about this because they don't really know who's cookied them, how they're tracking them, and so on as well.
It sounds like, marketing resources, especially with these third-party cookies, they all may not be following a best practices blueprint. Do marketers need to upskill in data?
In the last year, we've seen a big fallback in knowledge in the area of analytics and data particularly. Now, there's two real reasons for that. One is that everything is moving at pace. Digital marketing capabilities that we have are changing really quickly. The rules around cookies, there's advancement in search and social, all those different things. So if we're not constantly educating ourselves, we're actually getting behind. But also what's happened is we haven't been going to those face-to-face courses. We haven't been going to the events and the conferences. So again, we haven't been having all those kind of skills interventions that we might have had. Now that's quite dangerous because what that means is the people that are setting the cookies, that are doing the pop-ups to opt you in, aren't always as well informed as they should be. So there's definitely challenges on both sides of this, on the consumer and on those that are involved with setting the cookies in the first place.
As a consumer, you don't necessarily have to wait until you get the browser pop-up to understand what your preferences should be for cookies. What options do people have to manage cookies?
The problem is it's not always clear on the pop-ups that we get what they're actually doing. And there's quite a few scenarios like you're going to go in and before you've even opted in, they've already set the cookies before they've allowed you to go through and make your choices. And again, that's down to poor implementation. So in your browser, you can go through to the preferences and you can actually select which type of cookies you want. Do you want those third-party cookies? You can actually switch those off altogether. You can go back and delete cookies that have already been set. But bear in mind, if you do that, a lot of the logins won't actually be remembered. You'll have to log in again when you go back to a website again. We actually as well can use ad blockers. So if we install an ad blocker, we can set settings there that give us even more ability to block things that we might have already said yes to. So there are ways we can take back control of this.
Are there any best practices or parting words for those consumers out there?
I think be aware of what you're opting in for. So make sure you've got those different types of cookies. Be really clear on that. Also be aware there is some changes in the browser world that are going to impact this as well. So Safari are already starting to block third-party cookies. And actually Google Chrome are looking over the coming years of regulating third-party cookies a lot more, which means marketers and people like that are having to start to think a bit more carefully about this as well.
So let's just take a look at a couple key takeaways from today's episode. As Daniel mentioned, cookies aren't necessarily good or bad. It depends on your individual attitude towards data privacy and what you want to do on the internet as an experience. Things are changing so fast, and that means we all as consumers and creators have to get up to speed on what's happening. As you mentioned, regulation is steadily being introduced to protect consumer privacy, and businesses may soon have to find new ways to use browser data without the help of these third-party cookies that follow you from site to site. Daniel, it's been fun and fascinating. I really appreciate your time for joining us today.
Thanks so much. It's been great to be here.
And for everyone out there, if you have any questions or comments, you can leave them in the comments below, and I'll help if I can. And click the subscribe button to receive more videos like this in the future. Thanks, everyone, and we'll see you next time.